Okay guys, Doug the Motherboard Guy here. Got another video for you. This is pretty exciting. So if you watched one of my previous episodes, in episode 3, I had an unboxing video where I opened up an eBay package and there were 5 video cards in a box that I ordered from eBay that were all untested. And we didn't know if any of them worked, we didn't know what they were, and it turned out really well. If you want to watch what happened, go back, watch episode 3. I'll have a link in the description to go back and watch that video. But that went so well, I decided to kind of double down on that whole idea of buying some untested parts. And so I've got another box here. I hinted at what was going on in episode 4. I talked about how I had bought something with like 25 to 30 different parts in it. This is that box. It just arrived today while I was at work. Got home a little while ago and this was sitting on my front porch. There are between 25 and 30 processors in this box. They are for socket 478, 775, and there's one for socket 1156. So I've kind of figured out what most of them are from the pictures that the seller had up on their site, on their eBay auctions. But this was a total of $35 with shipping for all of the processors in here. And they range from Celerons, Celeron Ds, Pentium 4s. There are a couple of Core 2 processors in here, and there is one Core i5 in this box. So I'm going to open this up. We're going to kind of look at what they all are. Going to go over what they are as I open it. It's really exciting because this is going to be a lot of testing for me. This is going to take several days for me to complete all of the testing. I'm not going to do it all on camera. Of course, we wind up with a video that's a few hours long. But I am going to open this up and kind of take a look at what everything is right on camera. Kind of try to get this open. Okay, Pentium dual core 2220. That's one step up from the last Pentium D I pulled out. Core 2 quad. That's a nice chip. This is a Q6600. What a chip to find in a lot like this for a $35 lot. Getting a chip like that. Don't know if it works, but I got it and I'm going to test it. See if it functions. Okay, another Pentium D820. Not bad. Alright. Oh, this one's got a damage to one of the resistors on the bottom. Not a big deal, it's only a Pentium 4. It's a 631, so it's the cedar mill chip. Okay. This is a Pentium dual core 2160, so this is only a 1.8. Here we've got a Celeron 2.2 with an 800 bus speed. Okay, so that's like a really slow Celeron 450. Alright, low end. Another Pentium 4. This one is a 630. Okay, this is a Core 2 Duo E6850, and it appears everything might still be intact on the bottom? No, it's not. Huh, that sucks. Oh well. Here's another Pentium 4 that's 2.93. Running out of room here. Celeron D 3.2. might be the highest clocked chip so far. And here's our Core i5. Core i5 750. And this one, oh, that's awesome. It looks like everything's intact on the bottom of that chip. That might actually be the first one I test because that's really exciting. Okay, so there's a couple resistors in the bottom of that. Now let's see. I really don't know what's in this. Oh, there's a couple more chips in here. These weren't in the pictures that I saw. Oh my goodness. This is a Core i5 3330. Oh, wow. That's an Ivy bridge. Holy moly. That's a 3 gigahertz. I believe the 3330 was a dual core, but that is still a really nice chip to get in a lot like this. Wow. You know, I don't even actually have a motherboard for that yet. I wasn't expecting that. And then, okay, this one's got some thermal paste on it, so I'm going to have to take care of that real quick. See if I can figure out what this chip is. And this is a Core 2 Duo E6400, so 2.13 gigahertz and 1066 bus speed. So, wow, what a lot of chips, and that Ivy bridge, jeez. So, I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I have 28 chips here. A heck of a lot of testing on my plate. So I'm going to get started on testing some of these, but one of the other things I'm going to have to do with all of the Socket 478 chips, I'm going to have to try and unbend the pins. So that might be interesting as well. So I'm going to get to it, cut the shot, and go ahead and show testing maybe just a couple of these. Okay, so for this part of the video, oh sorry, I'm moving this around. This is a very far zoomed in shot. This is the one of the processors. This is this particular one is the Celeron D2.66. And I kind of want to show the methodology, how you would go about unbending the pins on the bottom of a processor. So this is one of the ones that came in the lot that I purchased from eBay, and there's quite a number of just bent pins all over the bottom of this thing. So the tools that you're going to need, at least that I use for this, different people do this different ways, but I've found this to be pretty easy and pretty effective. It's a pretty involved process. It takes a while to do, but it works. And so I use a mechanical pencil with the lead removed because the hole at the end of the pencil is like the perfect size to fit over the pins. And so once you find one of the pins that isn't exactly upright, like there's one right here, I try to see if I can kind of shimmy the mechanical pencil onto it, and once I manage, it's kind of, sometimes it takes a little bit of doing, because sometimes it's bent pretty bad. Like that one's actually bent pretty much all the way over to where the next pin is. So you might have to like just catch the edge of it with the lip of the pencil and try and move it. And the other thing you can do is move the other pin that's in the way of you getting to it away for just a moment. And then you stand it up and you try and get it somewhat upright, and you can take the pencil off and put it back on as many times as you need to see how close you've gotten it. And at this point, you're not trying to get it perfect, because really you're going to wind up doing another step afterward. You want to get a couple of cards, like a couple of gift cards or credit cards, whatever you have lying around. And then once you have all of the pins on the processor most of the way upright with the pencil, the next step is to slide, let me move this back into frame here. You kind of slide the card into one of the rows of pins, and once you've got it in, you actually want to make sure that the whole surface is flat and is along one of the rows. So you get one card into one row, and then you get another card into the adjacent row. And once you've got those pins sandwiched between the two cards, then you press right along the processor to kind of try and smooth out the pins so that they're standing straight up. So you press firmly all along there, and then you slide the cards out. And you want to do that for each row, and you want to do it both horizontally and vertically, because then once you've gotten all of that done, all of the pins will be going straight up, and they won't be bent at all. They won't be bent in a curve, because pressing them with the cards will take care of that. And so you wind up, I actually have an example of one processor that I did this to earlier today. I used this exact method on that processor. So I'm going to set that processor in here. You can see how straight all of those pins are. This processor was actually one of the worst in the whole lot that I got, and it fits into the socket perfectly. You don't have to press down on the processor to get it to go into the socket much at all. Like, you set it down and in just a nudge it goes right in. So this was one that had pins that were laying all the way down flush to the surface of the circuit board on the bottom of the processor. Like, this was really bad. So if I can turn it into that, that method works. So I'm doing that to all of the socket 478 processors that I got. I'm going to zoom back out here so you can see just how many of these I'm doing that to. There's a whole pile of them here. So that's what I'm working on right now. Gonna take me a while, but once I get through with this, I should have about a dozen working socket 478 processors that I only had to spend like 20 bucks to get, so that's actually pretty nice. Okay guys, so I have the Core 2 Quad Q6600 installed. I just put that in, put the heatsink back on, and now I'm going to power it on and see if one of our better chips in this lot is working. So here we go. Yes! We have a working Core 2 Quad. Oh, that's awesome. Here, let me tab out here. Core 2 Quad CPU. Oh, man, that's exciting. That is really cool. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and go through the remainder of the 775 CPUs, and I will start recording which ones work, and I'll be back. Okay. So I have the results from the first set of testing that I've done on the processors, and here it is. Most of the processors are working perfectly fine. There are a total of 28 processors that I purchased. 23 are guaranteed known good working processors at this point. One is still untested. There was an i5 3330. It's for a socket that I don't have a motherboard for, and so I'm gonna get that tested sometime in the near future. I have a couple friends with motherboards that would be compatible, so I'm seeing if I can borrow one or maybe bring the chip over and plug it in for testing, but we'll see what I can get done with that in the near future. I do have, at this point, 4 known bad processors. Those processors are a socket 478 processor. I have that right here. It is a Pentium 4 2.53 gigahertz. It gets very hot when I turn on the system. The fans ramp up to full speed and it doesn't show anything on the screen. So this is definitely a faulty processor. That's out of the ones that I had for socket 478, it's the only one that didn't work. And there were 12 of them. So 11 working processors and 1 faulty. That's really not a bad failure rate considering they were all listed as untested as is. Then socket 775, there were 2 that did not work. Out of the 13 processors that I got, we had a Pentium 4, that is a 3 gigahertz Pentium 4, and I have a Pentium dual core, the 2.4 gigahertz model. So out of 13 processors for socket 775, I had 11 working and 2 not working. Grand scheme of things for that socket also, this is not a necessarily terrible thing. There's a Core 2 quad and there's a very fast Core 2 duo in this set of processors that both work. So it's really a great set of processors I got for the money that I spent. And then there is one unfortunate one that doesn't work, and that's right here. Unfortunately, the i5 750 did not work. The motherboard that I have for testing for this is brand new to me. I purchased it from eBay specifically to test this processor and also to have one in the future that I can test other purchases with. And I don't know if that motherboard's 100% working, to be honest with you, because it didn't work with this processor. I'm getting 2 beeps when I turn it on, which indicates a memory failure because it's a Dell branded board. The 2 beeps indicates a memory failure, but I tried multiple types of memory and it didn't work. So the memory controller on i5s is built into the processor, so it could be the processor. I have another processor on its way from eBay, a very cheap Pentium dual core. It was $4 with shipping. So that's on its way. I'm going to plug that into the motherboard that I have when I get that processor and see if it is indeed a processor failure for the i5 or if I actually received a faulty motherboard. I'm going to be hanging on to this i5 with bated breath until then. I actually hope that my motherboard is bad, because then I might still have a working i5. We'll see. That won't be for a few more days. Now, overall, I did very well with this lot of processors. I purchased 28 processors, and there are currently 23 that are working. That's a great deal. 23 working processors for $35. Now, I want to caution you, I did extremely well. You may not. If you purchase untested hardware from eBay, really you're getting into something that you don't know if it's going to work, if it's not going to work. People may or may not list things untested if they don't work. You know, there are people out there who have bad intentions. They might have their video card fail on them in their computer, and they run tests on it, they find out it's bad, they put in another one and it works in their computer, and they say, I've got a bad video card, and then they decide, oh, well, you know what? I could list it on eBay untested. Somebody might buy it then. And there are people out there who will take advantage like that, so you have to be cautious. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't purchase an untested piece of hardware, but there are certain things that you want to look out for. First off, it's more common for untested hardware to truly be untested if it's older. It's a lot less common for people to have testing hardware around for old stuff. The processors that I purchased, they were all listed as being for socket 775 and socket 478. And honestly, They haven't made motherboards for socket 478 in well over 10 years, and they haven't made ones for socket 775 in about 5 or 6 years. So it's completely believable that someone would have these processors and not have a way to test them. And the other thing to keep in mind is the more in-depth it is to install a piece of hardware, also the more likely it is that it really would be untested. If there's RAM listed as untested and it's brand new RAM, I might shy away from that. The reason for that is it's not difficult to install RAM compared to installing a CPU. There's a lot more people around who know how to install memory into a computer. You take the side of it off, you install it, you turn on the computer, and you see if it works. You run some memory tests just to be safe. But for a CPU, you have to have a little bit more knowledge, and there's a lot of people who know how to install RAM and don't know how to install a CPU. So you really have to be careful with what you purchase, but the main thing is just make sure that whenever you purchase untested hardware that you're not expecting it to work. Purchase it with the intent of knowing that you might get something that doesn't work, and if that's the case, then that's the case. You live with it, you move on. You can't get upset about it, and you can't really return it either. You can't ask for a refund because it's listed as is. So never purchase something that you really can't afford for it not to work. If you need working hardware, buy working hardware. Bottom line. Well, thanks for watching my video. If you enjoyed the content, then please make sure to like the video. And if you'd like to be notified every time I post new content, then please subscribe to my channel. I do appreciate it. I have some more videos coming up very soon, and I have a very interesting motherboard on its way from Italy. I am importing a motherboard all the way from Italy, so if I'm having that done, then you know it's going to be something very interesting. That's coming up very soon. I'm going to be putting together a system around this. It's very unique. It has a lot of features, a lot of different options for things that you can install into it. So stay tuned for that. Again, I appreciate you watching. Take care and have a great day.